fascinating session, fascinating talks, and I hope that we are going to continue this, in the panel, and we get different perspectives, please. And we get different perspectives here. So my name is Tsinoremas, by the way. I'm the director of the Institute for Data Science and Computing, and we are one of the co-organizers of this event, along with the School of Architecture here at the University of Miami. And, looking around and so forth, this is actually the 9th year that we are organizing this event. For some reason, I didn't realize that it was that long that we've been doing this kind of event. So anyway, so this is our 9th year. Next year is going to be the 10th year. So we should have something a little bit more special, a little bit more anniversary to celebrate. Here in the panel, we have a very good representation, actually, I would say, both from more the academic side, but also from the practitioner side. So I think there is that, as both of our actually speakers earlier, they brought together what we can do both in the academic side, but also in the practitioner side, and how we bridge that in order to create a more smart environments and smart cities. So with that, and without me talking too much, I will try to introduce the two other panelists that you have not been introduced to. So I will ask Christine to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what you do.
Sure. My name is Christina Viala. I work for the city of Pompano Beach as their sustainability coordinator.
Fantastic. And Masahiko?
So my name is Haraguchi. I'm a postdoc fellow at Harvard Public Health School.
Okay, great. So I will start actually asking a couple of questions to the panelists here that you haven't heard a whole talk about. So, and I would like to ask actually to start with Christina. And how do you think what is the approach you think that for a city to be sustainable? And including, how do you take input from the communities? So you are a practitioner, you are part of a city. So how do you go about? How do you think about this?
I think, especially if I think about the municipal side, it will vary based on the size of the city and the resources of the city. Pompano Beach is a pretty resourceful city, and they've developed a sustainability project portfolio. So it's basically a roadmap of different projects that they want to achieve in the realm of sustainability. But it gives you an action plan, and I know in the previous discussion we were saying a lot of cities, they tend to plan and not act. But when you have a predetermined project portfolio, this year you'll do a waste audit, next year you do an energy audit, so you've set yourself up for a lot of future work. So that's one way to do it, yes.
And how do you involve the community?
So, when I think about our vulnerability assessment that we've conducted, which is a Resilient Florida grant funded assessment, we have a lot of different criteria, a lot of different tasks, and there is a lot of community involvement. It's actually a part of the grant process. So, we conduct community workshops, and there's a lot of deliverables from those workshops. So we do keep the community engaged, but it is very tough in the municipal side to get the community involved. You need to create an environment, and sometimes it's good to piggyback on something that's already happening in the city, like an art festival or another workshop. So that's one way to get the community involved.
Great, thank you. I will go to Masahiko now. You're coming more from the technology and digital aspects of a city. So how do you think, what is the role, if you will, of this technology and technology? We heard from, the previous speakers, a little bit of different versions about that, how technology can't help, or how technology is not really the plan all. And so how do you think that this kind of new emerging technologies, like digital twins of a city or whatever it is, how this can be incorporated to make it smarter? Because having it just for the sake of having it, it's not really that smart, so to speak. But the question is, how do you think about that? And how do you think that, we have different cities that they have different technological digital disparities, if you will. Some people may actually a lot more familiar, to use, smartphones and so forth, computers. But all we saw, even with COVID-19, not everyone had a computer at home. Actually, many people were sharing computers at home. Many people did not have Wi-Fi at home. Right? They had to go to the park, or they had to go to a library to get access to actually go to school for the kids. So how do you think about all of these kind of things? I would be interested to get your perspective.
Thank you so much. I think I'd like to talk about urban digital twin in terms of that question. So I think I'm studying about the interaction between technology and human systems. So I think this emerging technology of urban or city digital twin has various potential to transform urban planning. So I think first advantage is to do using this technology to simulate various scenarios and various future projections, because this urban digital twin is a replication of the physical systems. So not only the physical systems, but we can also include human activities. So for example, if we construct, or if we have a new park in a city, how does having this new park will change urban life? For example, like physical systems such as generating wind in a city, or how human activity will regenerate it because of having this new park. So that is, but not only having a single scenario, but also we can test various scenario because of this high-tech technology. So urban planners can test various futures and getting feedback from citizens. So that is the first advantage. And second advantage is enhancing collaboration. So for example, to design cities, we have engineers, urban planners, or climate scientists, or social scientists. Each expert speak in a different language. But with this platform, people can discuss overcoming their barriers between disciplines. So that is a second advantage, but also not only between different experts, but also we can enhance the conversation between expert and citizens, because this technology allowing citizens can have a intuitive understanding of how cities will be transforming. So because of this, like such as VR or metaverse technologies, citizens can have a better intuitive understanding of the future cities. So because of this, the urban planners or policymakers and citizens can have better conversation. And the last advantage is citizens engagement. So because like this technology is not one direction, but like bi-direction. So for example, like citizens can feedback to their city systems. For example, if they take photos of damaged infrastructures or damaged like park, playground equipment, they can provide quick feedback to the city planning, so that they can, city government can know what what part of the cities are not functioning well, so that their response from citizens can be well incorporated too using this technology.
So just a bit more, a little bit, and I think I will open to the whole panel here. How do you actually think about the digital divide that exists in our city? Right? And how do you think that this is a problem, or not being a problem, or should, and how do we address it? And how to address it in terms of, emergency responses, in terms of other kinds of things. So I would open this for everyone. So there is a digital divide. We know that about this, in our city. How do you think that city should approach that?
Yeah.
And what does it mean? Does it even matter?
I think that is very critical problem in the case of city-urban digital twin, because like as I said, this technology can incorporate human activities into the digital systems, but these human activities only they are digitized or they become data. It can be represented in the digital system. So, for example, informal settlement such as slum, or like seasonal workers or foreigners or marginalized populations, sometimes very difficult to catch their real life. So that these real life cannot be well represented in city digital twin, for example. So that kind of representation problem exists in the case of urban digital twin.
So anyone wants to take a little bit about talk about this?
Yeah, so in my research, I always use cell phone data sets, and it's being criticized that people don't use cell phone. How do you get the data sets, right? So I think there's an important solution there is we don't really want to just use big data but forgot about small data sets. Like sometimes survey is still very helpful because it at least ensures some representative to different demographics and some other features that you care about. So how we actually bridge small data to big data is kind of a solution to that. And there's also growing technology actually can help you to augment data sets, right? How we augment, from small data sets and make a big data sets, and how we develop technology from there. Digital divide also have different types, and it's getting better. And when you're looking at statistics, there are growing population using cell phones, right? There's just a very small percentage people don't really use cell phone, social media, but there's definitely some differences across age groups and some other features. It kind of requires very kind of targeted kind of solution in different problem solving kind of context to address that problem. I guess it's just some real efforts there. It's not really just talking about we care about that, but we don't do something, right? In research design, we should really think about diverse ways to gather data sets, to address the needs and work with communities and involve different kind of groups into the design and the process, and really having the assessment of the smart city project that relevant to how we address this kind of divide issues there. Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick one. I think that the digital divide was used in the past as an excuse for not doing things, as just elaborating on what my colleague here said. It's the cell phones are there, so if you design your system for cell phones, you either reach 100% or a bit less than 100%, and those small percentage of those who don't have, just give them the cell phone. For a city hall, this is perfectly possible. So I wouldn't worry about that as a delay for the deployment of any project of smart city.
It's not necessarily the delay, but the engagement.
Yeah, engagement is a different thing. It doesn't have to do with the digital divide. So if you engage people with things that are really important to them, I think it will just happen. It's amazing how people who are not literate about computers or anything get used to that quickly. If for instance, there's anything related to money, they can bet, they can do things there because it's fun. It's either fun or money, they can do that. So I wouldn't worry too much about the digital divide at this point. It was a problem before, but today it's much more of an excuse.
Great. It would be nice to hear from Christina, who is actually in the front lines of being in the city. How would you think about it?
So, like I mentioned before, Pompano has a sustainability project portfolio, and one of the items of the portfolio is creating a dashboard, a sustainability management software. So we're engaging with CloudSite, which is a local vendor in Boca. So just having something like that where you can input your data from your different assessments, vulnerability, tree canopy, etc. And then if that software also has a public interface that's a little more simpler than what you see on the municipal side, that's very helpful. Something interactive. Coral Springs has a really great one. You can see how many trees were planted. You can track different items.
Great. That's great. So one more question before we open for the questions to take from the audience. One thing also I wanted a little bit to have to think about is that, right, the cities are dynamic systems, right? So they're not remain constant, right? And I think that Eduardo, articulated this, through the years and so forth. So the cities are changing constantly, right? They're changing for a number of reasons, whether it's economic reasons, whether it's, climate reasons, whether there is, all sorts of different kinds of reasons. So how do you actually think about that when you are introducing your smart cities ideas? And what does it mean? That is it the same now that it would be in 10 years? How do you think about that? How do you even, address some of these kind of thoughts? That you think that how they change?
Sure, you have to stay engaged. You have to stay engaged with academia. If I think about Pompano and our CIve that we work with you have to stay engaged in terms of what's going on with technology. I find sustainability to be very opportunistic. So you find out what somebody in another department is working on, and you're like, "Oh, how can I insert myself into this? How can I help make this project better?" So that's how I see it from a sustainability point of view. You work with public works, you work with different department, waste management, and hopefully you have different allies in different departments, different representatives that you can work with.
So I want to share our experience, like during our smart city project under the funds above NSF, City of Gainesville changed 3 mayors. So you can imagine the challenge of keep communicating with them and seeking collaboration, supports about that. So it's really just part of the efforts of being persistent and having the belief that this is a good project and keep communicating. There's no, easier way to make it sustainable. I think collaboration does require additional efforts for us researchers beyond just, sitting before the computer doing the research, but it's also like extra efforts really to talk with people and to convince them and really to understand them, to listen to them. So it's just a the engagement work piece of that to make things like really sustained and keep up with the change, even with the power dynamics within the city governments and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, smartness, what we call smartness of the city it's a moving target, right? And I was talking to someone at the table before on what was the technology in 2022 that was in everyone's mind. Can anyone guess? Just to remember, for all of you to remember, ChatGPT is January 2023. It's only 2 years. Before that, there was another thing that would change the world. What was it? Metaverse. Remember? Metaverse was the thing in 2022. That's 2.5 years before. And a huge company changed its name to Meta. And just 3 months after they changed their name, came ChatGPT, and nobody talked about Metaverse anymore. So this is a moving target, and I always, in our label, cities can be more humane, intelligent, and sustainable. We are incorporating the dynamic there. It's more, and in 10 years' time, could be more humane and sustainable. So it's a moving target. It's in the label already.
Great. So with that, I think that let's take a few questions from the audience for any of our panelists. So we have any questions? Yes, we have a couple.
Thank you very much. My name is Elira Turdubayeva. I come from Kyrgyzstan. It's far away in Central Asia. I'm a Fulbright scholar here. And I came with my 2 kids, and I'm taking them every day to school and back. And like I didn't expect this to be like in US. Yeah, I heard, but in our country, our kids go by themselves, come by themselves. Like they walk, they cycle, they take public transportation, and parents don't take them every day. It's like a full-time job. And why in US, like in many states, kids cannot go, it's not safe, or why don't you design cities where kids go by themselves to school and back? And also a lot of car culture, no one is walking, it's like a ghost city, even in downtown, like in our country, like you walk like 15 minutes, yeah, you get everywhere to all these services. So I think this is the lack of designing cities, not for people, but for cars, for technology, and even railway is not very developed like in Europe, and you cannot take even bus to nearest cities. So this was our professor from Eduardo, Professor Costa, he highlighted this very well, and I really much appreciate your professor, your talk. And my question was about how we can design the cities to promote inclusion and accessibility so that people, in spite of their age, abilities, socioeconomic statuses, can come together, have social capital, social cohesion, or social like empathy and community well-being. So how we can design cities for people and for the well-being of people. Thank you.
Our seats first.
Christina, you have it first.
I feel like I don't know how to answer that without getting in trouble. I'm also an immigrant. I came to the U.S. after high school, so I understand your perspective. I commute a very long way to Pompano and back. You know, it's very tough, but you know, cities are working on it. It happens at the planning process, but you do have to fight with developers and, you know, a lot of agendas. Like I said, it's really hard to answer without getting in trouble. But it's just something that citizens have to fight for in their city. They have to make themselves heard. They have to go to their planning boards to listen to the meetings. We can no longer take advantage of a city operating without its citizens.
Can I have a go there? Talk about cars. Well, first, thank you for your comment. I just wanted to say, why are we so car addicts? I think we will have help groups of people who will come to a meeting and say, I don't have a car. And then everyone else will say, oh, welcome, Eduardo. Yeah. And in fact, I don't have a car. And the funny thing is, in Brazil, when I talk in a meeting, in a dinner party, people are talking about this wonderful car that was just launched, and they ask me, I'm sort of looking up, and they ask me, and what is your machine now? And I say, I don't have a car. And I can see in their eyes the pity that they look at me saying, oh, look at Eduardo, he had such a good job there somewhere. So it's really something, it's a cultural thing. So the car is the poster child for the industrialization. So all the countries that came to industry later on, late industrialization, they all have cars everywhere because this is the symbol. It's a poster child for industrialization, is to have a car industry in the country and everything. So it's a cultural thing. And so it's easy to define. To correct, it's more difficult because cultural things are the more difficult things to change. It will take time. And we need projects that show that it is viable to go places by bike, by the underline in Miami. I'm not with the mayor of Miami or anything, but it's a wonderful project. And I know that most people in Miami haven't even seen it. not even actually used it at all. So it's a cultural thing. It will change that. Now, how do you go about doing that? Involving people it is difficult as well. It is in our culture that we don't believe in government. If the government calls you to do something, you just don't go, because this is probably just to have an excuse to raise taxes or something, and you don't go there. So it's tough. To involve people is tough, but you have to go there. And my hopeful view of this is that in the municipality is where we can change this relation between citizens, residents, and the government, because the executives in the municipality live there as well. So they have the same problems you have. That's different from the state level or the federal level, and even worse. So I'm hopeful, but you have to talk to people, and it's not easy.
Any more questions? I mean, fascinating. Okay.
Hello. I don't really have a question, but I kind of wanted to join in on this conversation. Christina, I appreciate your answer, and I know you have to be careful about what you say. But I am a pedestrian. I don't own a car, and I love my car, but I left it in Illinois.
Look at my eyesight.
Oh no, yeah, I know. But I actually kind of disagree with what the panel was saying. I think we need more of a top-down approach of the government taking some action to expand transit here. I feel like, sure, I could go to the government, which I work for Miami-Dade County, and say that I want some more transit, and they're gonna be like, okay, man, like, get a car, or like, take the bus or something, which I do, but I feel like a lot of the times the answer is, oh, come to these meetings, and I have class in the afternoon when these meetings are held, and people who want transit can't get to these meetings because they work all day. And I feel like there needs to be another approach than just speak up or do something about it yourself.
Yeah, it's true. It's a comment.
Any comment?
It's just a comment, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll piggyback. My name is Silvio. I'm on the board here of the Masters of Sustainable Business, and I've been working on how do we create a toolkit to make it easy for especially smaller municipalities to kind of have like a turnkey way to enable a smart city. As you know from probably personal experience, whether it's at a campus level or Tokyo metropolitan government level, it's incredibly cumbersome. There's a lot of moving parts, pieces, coordination, etc. So I feel like we would have much higher success if we can package things up so they would pre-integrate both the data and the visualization aspects of it. And I want to kind of come back to Masahiko, your work. I'm curious to find out. I had a meeting with the Tokyo metropolitan government to look at their digital twin, and they're like, "Look, we spent a lot of money on our digital twin, and we've spent millions, and we haven't really been able to justify our digital twin." City of Coral Gables also built their digital twin just to like make it easier for residents. Where do you see the highest return on investment on a digital twin being possible? Right now, we think, my thesis is energy efficiency, saving in energy and water so we have an economic benefit, and then sort of reinvesting that. And that's what Raymundo has done as a CIO of City of Coral Gables. But maybe you've looked at a broader landscape. Maybe I could direct that question first to you. And then I'd like to dovetail that for Christina to think about how do we look at the examples of the dashboards. We having a tree crisis here in Miami, for example. What would it cost, right? What did it cost maybe that city that you mentioned? What would it cost you to do it? And how would we go about sort of implementing something like that? And maybe there's a convergence here between how it could serve the general public with the environment and how it can give us a higher ROI to start.
Thank you so much for your insightful question. So I think the reason I started this research on digital twin is exactly what you asked. So this project, my project, was initiated by the government funding of Japanese Ministry of Infrastructure, and they wanted to know. So they at that time they are constructing urban digital twins of various Japanese cities, but they are not sure how to use it. So they asked me to search, what's a good usage of, this technology, and looking at various, example from Europe and Asia and US. And I categorize, the purpose of this technology in probably like two ways. So one is, many cities in European cities are trying to use this technology to improve their urban planning method. So, for example, that's why, the city of Zurich is constructing a digital twin to include citizens' engagement a lot more. So that they are designing this technology is more like a city game, like gamification. So it's more like a video game, so that citizens can easily participate in that game, and so that they can provide more direct feedback to their urban planning. So that is one way of using this technology. And another way of this technology is more technocentric usage, such as Singapore or like Japanese cities or some cities in China too, I think. So what they're trying to do is, to centralize data or, centralize their, like human activities, economic activities, their physical systems in one platform, so that urban planners can refer to that centralized data collection systems or simulation systems. So it's more like for urban planners or policymakers, so that they can use this technology as more data centralized system. So that is another type of usage. So I think it depends on policymakers, how they want to use it. So yeah.
How do you calculate the economic benefit of that?
Yeah.
Is it time saved? Like, how do you judge? Like, I feel like I can't go to like a commissioner or a mayor today and say it's going to help your urban planning thing. So it's hard to kind of justify that versus a dollar figure or something like that.
Yeah, I think as far as I know, so these example from European cities or Asian cities or other cities, they are not calculating well for cost-benefit analysis of these investment. But one city is in France. I forgot the name of the cities, but these cities, I can look at that cities from my computer. But that cities are more focusing on improving efficiency, such as energy efficiencies or waste collection efficiencies or water efficiencies. So I believe that cities are more focusing on how to or calculate return on investment from investing to the city data twin. So
I think thank you very much. I think at this point we're not going to take any more questions. I think thank you the panel for the lively discussion. Thank you all. Hopefully we'll see many of you our next Smart Cities in a year, which is going to be our 10th anniversary. Thank you.